Thank you, Lee, so much for joining me today. I've been excited about talking with you and learning more about you.
Well, thank you. And Dana, thank you for the invitation to join the podcast. And I'm super excited to share some information with your listeners.
And I'm sure they're going to enjoy hearing all about what we talk about today. So just because our listeners don't necessarily know who you are, can you share a little bit of information about you and how you started your business?
I would love to. So I am a master facilitator, a leadership coach, speaker, and consultant. So a whole lot all wrapped up in one. And I started my business. I officially started my business a year ago in July. The journey started 2 years ago, though. So I had been working in corporate,
Yeah.
super active, loved the world of learning and development, and really thought I found my home. And we all know in corporate, things change. That is the only constant in that world. And I had been working with our global team for over a year on kind of a restructuring plan. And what I realized at the end of August of 2019 is I found myself restructured right out of a position.
Oh gosh.
And at the same time, my husband had accepted a new role, which required us to move city and state. So big things were happening all at once, and we decided together that this might be a perfect opportunity for me to begin thinking about starting my own business. And so I did, slowly at first, and I reached out to some contacts that I had where I held certifications and let them know that I was officially on the market and available if they needed any bench strength to let me know. And they immediately, thank God, they immediately said, yes, we need you. And so I started representing them and traveling to work with leadership teams and hosting workshops, doing one-on-one, some coaching, doing one-on-one debriefs regarding this tool, which I'm sure we're going to talk about. I don't want to give too much away yet. But started doing that. And then we all know what happened in March of 2020.
Of course.
The world went through the ringer. And in many cases, we still are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everything that I had on the books, which was I was doing really well, everything fell off. L&D paused their world because it's like, oh my gosh, we've got other things we need to be worried about. Learning is not one of those right now.
Right.
So that is actually what caused, I guess, me an opportunity to really take a step back and figure out what I want to be doing here. And because I was a coach or am a coach, I reached out to the ICF and just said, hey, what's going on with you guys? They were communicating that they were going to be giving back and they were looking for coach participation in pro bono coaching for individuals who were hardest hit by. And so the summer of 2020, I did a lot of coaching, about 25 individuals. I offered pro bono coaching for about a 5-month period and got to meet some amazing people from all over the world. A lot of folks in hospitality, a lot of folks, solopreneurs, small business owners, healthcare workers who were all struggling with trying to work through what was happening. And so through that and through some other networking, really began to get some exposure and start the opportunity to be seen. And I realized, doing this just as Lei Comerford is probably not the smartest thing. So that's why in July of 2020, I decided to formalize the business, which is now 13 months in. So woohoo to one.
Congratulations.
Right? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's been a ride.
Yeah, it's exciting. And I love the fact that you turn something that could have been a negative. And most people, there are a lot of people going through that right now. And you took it as an opportunity to say, okay, what do I really want to do? And, thankfully your husband was on board with that and you were able to start your journey into entrepreneurship. And I think that that's fabulous. Just a quick question. Now, tell me what you said IPC or IPF, ICF?
Yep, it's actually the ICF,
Okay.
International Coach Federation. Sorry,
Okay.
it's my
Okay.
lingo.
No worries. No
I
worries.
should know better.
Because I was like, ICF, but I was trying to formulate what does that stand for. But yes, I'd like to dig more into that in a little bit. But when you were in your full-time job, were you doing the same type of work, or was this kind of a piece of your job that you really gravitated towards and you wanted to do more of that?
Great question. And yes, what I'm doing now is a lot of what I was doing in my corporate role. And instead of focusing just on one organization and their success, I'm now able to partner with many different organizations and individuals in order to help them move the needle.
Yeah, because I find that, a lot of times the skills that we have as individuals working for a company, we can take those and parlay them into our own side hustle or our own entity, right? And there are a lot of companies out there that don't have the dollars to hire a full-time trainer or development person. And so they want to bring somebody in temporarily to handle this for them. So I think it's important for our listeners to really understand that you may be at one point now in your career, but being able to take some of those nuggets and really roll with them, especially if they're parts of your job that you really gravitate towards. So I'm glad that you said that and that we were able to kind of pick up on that within your particular journey.
Absolutely.
So one of the things that I wanted to kind of dig into a little bit is when you went out on your own. So let's go back to the first part of your journey. Did you find it hard to kind of get your name out there to say, hey, now I'm doing this on my own? Or did you already kind of have a plan in place when you got ready to do that?
Yeah, another great question. And yes, it is very difficult to get your name out there. Luckily, I have had an amazing network. And I learned several years prior, because this is the second transition that I went through in corporate. And I was reminded, at the first one, it's like, oh, I've not done a great job of maintaining my network. So for those of you who are listening, please take this as a cue to maintain your network and to work LinkedIn, to reach out to folks that you haven't talked to in a couple of years. Maintain those relationships, because you never know when someone from your past is going to be able to maybe even be your next client or connect you to someone who could be an amazing referral or an amazing future client. So
those relationships.
Networking.
Yes. Yeah, I find that many people kind of sleep on that part of business development, of just, we're so focused on the grind of getting business and bringing money in that we're leaving off this big piece of the plate, which is, if you're networking with people and they know what your needs are, they're more likely to send business your way that you would have never even known was out there, because they see the need and know that you are a person who can fulfill it. So yes, networking. So very important. So did you have an identified brand? You mentioned that you started off with using just your name, and then you formalized into the LLC and Lei Comerford Consulting. So did you have any type of branding initially, or did you not really turn into, really focus on that until you became an entity within yourself?
Great. Another great question. Goodness, you're on a roll today. It's something that I thought, I can just do this casually. And then when I realized I really want to do this, and it takes putting some things in place to have that credibility. There are certain organizations that I've had an opportunity to work with over this last 13 months that probably would not have signed on if I had not been a formalized entity. No, I did not have branding. So I actually was very lucky. One of my contacts that I work with quite frequently, she is massively connected to so many in the L&D learning and development world. And she introduced me to two ladies who run a kind of a, what would you call it? It's an opportunity to get together once a week. This happens a lot for consultants.
Oh,
And
yes.
it's a networking opportunity to learn. There's a topic every week, but they
Mhm.
also were holding during the pandemic, they were holding this, gosh, I think it was a 5-day, just comprehensive, deep dive, let's get your business started.
Mhm.
And so I just happened to meet them at the perfect time, signed up for this program and realized, oh, I don't know a
Uh-oh.
thing about what I'm doing. Uh, these ladies have a lot of knowledge and I really need to be soaking that up. And so through that program, decided a deeper dive was probably the smarter move. So I signed up
Mhm.
for their longer program where it wasn't just scratching the surface on certain things. It was
Yes.
really diving in,
Diving
building that
in.
business plan, understanding that you need to have a team behind you. And as a solopreneur, yes, I have a team behind me. It is made up of marketing. It is made up of
Mhm.
attorney, CPA, insurance, all of the things that you need to make sure that you have. And for me, like I said, luckily I was introduced to these amazing women
Mhm.
who are now going to be offering another one of their 5-week programs, which is the deeper dive
Mhm.
coming up really soon. So if anyone's interested in learning more about that at any time, I know that we'll be sharing my contact information. Please let me know, and I'm happy to pass the
Yeah.
information on. But if you're looking to start your own business and really formalize it, there's a lot that we don't know until we know
And guys, I did not pay Lee to say this.
it.
Because you guys know that we're going through the solopreneur business essentials in Organized Academy. So I did not pay her to say this, but listen to her. She is so on point about, business owners not really knowing what they don't know. And you get out there and you're like, oh gosh, once you hear, like, I didn't know I needed this, or I didn't know this is the way I should have been doing, or yes, I need to consult an attorney, or, these pieces that, yeah, you can do them on your own, but do you even know that you need to do them, right? There are some
Right.
pieces that I would never even attempt to do on my own. And so being able to know the difference and getting all those checks, those boxes checked is really important. So I'm so glad that you said that, but guys, I did not pay her. We didn't even talk about this beforehand, but that was perfect. That was
I'll be
perfect.
looking for that bonus later.
You know? But I mean, I think that's important to hear from somebody who has been through it, and you realize, like, you came from corporate and there were so many things from corporate. A lot of people just assume that they know how to do the same thing in their own business, but hearing it from you that you realize that, oh, I need to do a deeper dive here and really dig into my business. That was really interesting to hear. So I'm
Just
going to
if I
switch.
can add just one more
Uh-huh.
comment there.
No, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, when we sit in corporate, we do one part of so many
Yes.
other
Yes.
things. And
Yes.
then when you go out on your own, you are the one responsible for
For
all of those
everything.
things.
Mm-hmm.
So it is sales, it is marketing, it is social media.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, it's bookkeeping. It's, you can tell I love that one, right?
Bookkeeping. Yeah.
Bookkeeping. And those are just parts of it. For me, it's content creation. It's
Yes.
it's networking, which we've talked about, but in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So there are just so many different elements, and by walking through and having your plan, that completely sets you up for success. So
Oh my
yes,
God.
we're going to have just that one moment of kind of the hand slapping. There's a
Mm-hmm.
process. For those of you who are not process oriented, I'm so sorry, but there is a process, and it helps to
Yes.
follow it to set yourself up for
Yeah.
success.
And to make sure that you have the right ones in place, right? But yes, you are dead on. There are so many pieces that we don't see on a day-to-day in corporate. We may know it exists, but we don't really know what it takes to do XYZ. Perfect example. I was getting ready for a speaking engagement, and they just, they say, oh, we decided that we were going to pay you X amount, and we just need to know how you want to be paid? And I'm like, well, I want the money, So those are little things that if you've never been in that situation, you don't know, how do I send them the wire instructions, or do I want them to just send me a check in the mail or what have you? And so understanding that there's pieces that in corporate you don't see, or in your day-to-day existence you don't see, and in business you don't necessarily do it the same way you would do it in your personal life either.
Right.
So you don't want to just give somebody your PayPal address and say, hey, you can just pay me this way, or what all the other financial links are that people can pay you with, because doesn't give you the most professional appearance, right? So you want to make sure that you're doing things in the right way within your business. And the only way for you to know what those right ways are to get the education. So I'd love to really dig back into learning and development, because I know that's your bread and butter, and really talk about what you see are some of the big gaps that people are having in relation to learning and development.
Yeah, there's one huge one, and it's that, a lot of people don't take value in their own development. They rely on their organization to give them development, and it may not be what they're needing or want. And, a phrase that I have used for so many years is, you are the CEO of your own development. So take charge.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is, what are you looking for? What's your vision? Where do you see yourself in a couple of years? These are conversations that I have with individuals every day, especially when I'm speaking with someone about one-on-one coaching. It's, where do you want to be? What's holding you back?
Yeah.
Then realizing, how can we build out a plan to help you get there? And as a coach, I'm that accountability partner, the thought partner, and that external unbiased person who can call them out when they need to be called out. It's like, you said this, but you just did this.
Yeah, they don't matter.
Yeah, what's going on there?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. What's going on there? And it's like, oh, you're
because
right.
You know what? When you're sitting in something, sometimes, they say you can't see the forest because of the trees. Like, you are so close to it that you're not even seeing that what your actions are doing are contracting. That's not what, conflicting with what your intentions were, what your goals were in that moment. And so having a coach come in and say, hey, in our last conversation, you said you wanted this, and what you just did was in complete contradiction to that, and getting you where you want to be on your plan.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love powerful.
Yes, it is very, very, very powerful. And I love what you said about having a plan, because I think with personal development, a lot of times we take it for granted and we don't fully map that out and what that looks like as far as where we want to be. Or if we are, quote unquote, planning it, we're planning so big and not niching it down. Do you see that in your interactions with individuals?
See it a lot, even with existing clients that I work with, that will jump on a coaching call, and the sky is falling because they've got this huge project.
Right.
And, we start diving in and start breaking it apart and putting it into these milestones that are very, very doable.
Right.
And, by the end of the call, and usually before that, I'm like, all right, well, how do you feel about that crazy huge project now? Well, it's not so crazy huge.
Right.
We've been able to talk through it. I understand I need to start here, and then I need to do this and this and this. And it is that building it out and making it manageable.
Yes. And
when you get something,
go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. When you get that overwhelm, you're not able to break through that. You're not able to shift your mindset. And it takes a conversation, a coach, friend, someone to be able to help you break it down in order to move it forward.
And when you have this big, massive plan, and I know that you have a little bit of project management in your background, so we are right here, eye to eye here. But when you're talking about, guys, in project management, that's called the work breakdown structure. And when we're really breaking down a big, massive project, first of all, when you're thinking about that massive project, it is extremely overwhelming. And I know in my day-to-day responsibilities, this happens all the time. You want to, for example, I use this example all the time, build a website. Well, that is not the task, right? There are so many little pieces that go into building a website. And if you just think, oh, I don't know anything about development, I don't know anything about building a website, and focus on that, you're missing those little teeny incrementals that you could be making along the way to make that process a little easier. And going back to your point of having a plan, of knowing what of those little pieces needs to come first, which is going to make the rest of it a lot easier.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One step after another. It is not full in.
Yes.
One step after another that gets you there.
Mm-hmm. So what else have you seen in your journey of working with people? And really, because I know you do facilitation, development. Do you work with a lot of coaches? No, excuse me, a lot of course creators, or are in the learning side, or is it more, well, let me just let you tell me instead of me throwing these things out here.
I actually don't work with course creators. I have a lot who are reaching out to me asking, to partner. But no, it's more the working with individuals, whether they sit in a corporate position, they sit, maybe they're just maybe they are a mom who has a full-time role being mom and needs to work through some things. So where I really thrive is working with busy professionals who are struggling with leadership confidence. And that's where I like and love to be. That's where I, over the years, have made change and really moved the needle for people. And so that's my happy place. And so it's that one, but also taking some of those same elements and working with teams. A lot of teams today, and well, all teams, are at different levels. Some are doing well. Some are, let's just say it, they're dysfunctional. How do you help a team gain that consistent purpose, that consensus around what are we doing?
How are we doing?
Yes, what are we doing? What's our vision? I had a call with a client just probably a week ago, and she said, my team has no vision. This is what I want to work on, and then let's help bring that to life for the group. Absolutely, let's do it.
The funny thing is, when you mentioned the teams, and we're talking about just being stuck and not having the vision, and I think about how do we apply this to solopreneurs and individuals, and because we work on a holistic standpoint, I immediately saw the mom that you mentioned being stuck, but she also has a family, and that family is technically her team. If we do a comparison there, that is her team, and being able to get the team to see the vision, of getting things done, getting where you need to be, and facilitating the household. I think that is something that is similar, is different, but a lot of those same concepts can be applied in your home life as well. But I do want to dig back, go like reverse the tape, rewind, and really dig into a statement that you made about being stuck and being an individual, because most of my listeners are both professionals and entrepreneurs. And so they have two trajectories that they're trying to go on. Everybody doesn't necessarily need or want to quit their full-time job, but they want something over here on the side. So let's dig into the professional who is out there really trying to move up in their environment, or even the entrepreneur who wants to grow in their business, but they just feel stuck and they aren't sure how to get past this. And they're kind of at that point where they're like, what is why even do it? Should I quit my job? Should I quit my business? Should I continue? Do I need to change something in my business? Like, for that person, what would your recommendations and the direction be that you would give?
Well, it's endless. So I'm sure, for some of your listeners, they're probably trying to read books. They're probably trying to ask their friends. When it comes down to it, you've got the answers in your own head. It's partnering with a coach, partnering with someone who can help you organize those thoughts, ask you questions that maybe you haven't thought of, bringing in some unique and different perspectives so that you can see things through a different lens and come up with your own right answers.
I love that.
It's a path, it's a journey. It's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
The clients that I work with, we start with 6 months. That's the least amount of time, up to a year. So I've got a 6-month, a 9-month, and a 12-month journey that I work with individuals, depending on what are they looking to achieve. If they've got one goal, it's one goal. Well, we know that we can likely accomplish that in 6 months. It takes time to build new habits. It takes time for change. If you've got someone who's wanting to maybe be in a different role, move into a whole new different world, well, that may take a little longer in having a partner. And the benefit is, let's say that you achieve that before the conclusion of that engagement, of that 6, 9, or 12-month engagement. Now you have a coach who can partner with you on being successful in those first 30, 60, 90 days of that new venture, whatever it is, new role, new company, whatever that is. So huge proponent of coaching. I see what it can do for individuals. I have a coach. I hired a business coach. I've had coaches along, but I hired a business in February. Big shifts in my world because of that. So,
because
I'm not just
as a coach, you see things that people, again, it's the forest for the trees. I'm sitting in it. I'm thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, or this is extremely hard, or, the mindset is amazing. How having the right mindset can get you stuck or unstuck, right? The right or the wrong mindset can either keep you where you are, not moving anywhere, versus you can make a statement to them that really is that aha moment that wakes them up and allows them to continue on their journey at whatever speed because sometimes those aha moments can make somebody go warp speed, and it's just the trigger they needed to just go for it. Other times I'm very visual. So I'm like, it's more of a trickle, right? It's an aha that's like, let me think about that a little bit longer, right? And then it kind of gets you moving, and then you slowly speed up. So just having that coach, I'm so glad that I have you on, because I think that is a piece that a lot of people, like you said, really focus on reading books, and there's nothing wrong with reading books, guys. No. Nothing at all.
I've got probably 6 on my desk right now.
Right. Absolutely. It's like books are great, but sometimes it takes more than that. And it takes really talking through things and really putting action behind things. And so I really find it's important to do your due diligence, and we're just pushing coaches today, guys. You guys need to get with Lee or myself.
Amen to that. Absolutely.
To advance yourself. So tell me a little bit about what you are working on, because I know that as a business owner, there are goals that you have that you would like to reach for the rest of 2021 and 2022. Gosh, that's hard to say. 2022.
We'll be here before we know it.
I know. So would you like to share a little bit about what you are working on and kind of the direction you would like to take your business?
Absolutely. So I have my hand in a lot of things, which is the way I like it. I like to have variety. So I partner and do a lot of work with cognitive diversity. So understanding the different thinking styles that are in existence, and how we have our own preferences.
Yes.
And once we understand what that preference is or preferences are, it will help us have better relationships, communicate better with others, and reduce that possibility for conflict.
Right.
And it's, I work with a model that is just very easy to follow, very quick to pick up, but incredibly in depth when you really think about it. So So I've been working with this group for, gosh, a little over 6 years. I'm a master facilitator with them and their program. I also have the pleasure of being one of their selected few who take individuals through a certification process so that they can share the knowledge
Oh,
of
that's
whole brain
nice.
thinking within their organizations or with their
Mhm.
clients if they are consultants. And
Right.
so I do a lot of work there. I also do speaking on that same topic. And so I've got just coming up in a couple of weeks, I'm working with a group on that topic. And another that I love to talk about is potential. And are we really reaching our
Reaching
untapped?
our, yes.
How do we unlock that? And
Mm.
it's usually ourselves. We stand in our own
Oh
way.
my gosh, so much.
Reality check. And
Yes.
by learning, some of these common obstacles that stand in our way, we're able to
Mm.
voice and decide, I'm not going to let that stand in my way anymore.
Right.
We also have, that little voice in our head. It can be called the judge. It can be called our saboteurs. There's many names, but it's also realizing when that voice decides to speak up.
Mhm.
How do we address that? And do we
Right.
address that? I think at times we let it take over and we
Mhm.
sort of take a back seat. But how do we stay in control of that voice in our head? And I work with individuals and teams frequently on that topic as well. So it's how do we get out of our own way so that we can be successful? So
Nice. That
yeah,
is
so those are a
fabulous.
couple of the topics that I'm working on. I'm really, really just looking to engage further into 2022 with more opportunities to speak with different associations and organizations, partnering with teams on helping them to gain more knowledge around the cognitive diversity aspects
Mhm.
and how they can become higher performing teams with this knowledge. So
Yeah.
it starts at the individual level, goes to teams throughout an organization, and then ultimately out into the world. So
Mhm.
'cause we'll use it in everything that we do once you get the
Yes.
concepts. So
Yes, I love that.
that amazing opportunity. And of course, along the way, certainly certainly looking forward to getting to know so many more individuals through one-on-one coaching as well.
Mhm. Mhm. You're gonna be busy, sister.
Things are great. Things are
But I
great.
mean, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. And just in you and guys, we did not, you guys know I don't plan these sessions. So just being able to articulate that is huge, right? Because so many people, during networking events and different things, and I'm talking to them about what their plans are, what their business, like where they're going in their business, and it's so hard for them to articulate that. And that is going back to having the plan, having the understanding of where you're going and why is so vitally important. And I mean, that was a perfect example of you just marched us right down that line of everything that you can do, right? And everything, so I know as a person who is out there and I hear, right, somebody needs this resource, guess what? I have Lee here and I can say, oh, I've got the perfect person for you. But if you aren't able to articulate that, to other individuals who are asking those questions, or even be able to pepper it into your conversation. I like to call that knowledge dropping, right? Of dropping that knowledge in conversations at the right point. How are people going to know what you need or what you're capable of doing? And so I love that you were able to just
Well, and
just sprinkle that out there.
it's critically important. And for,
Mhm.
whether this is a side hustle or a full-time gig for you, it's
Right.
critically important to be able to have that elevator pitch that this is what I do,
Mhm.
this is who I am, what I do, why I love it, who I
Mhm.
support. It's really important to be able to communicate that. So
Yes.
thank you for acknowledging that I
Lessons,
share that for you.
lessons. So one other thing I wanted to ask you before we left was we talk a lot about learning styles that are out there, and you mentioned it a little bit. But can you, first of all, I'd like to know what your preferred learning style and I don't even know if I want to call them tests or there's a better word, and I can't think. Assessment. Yes, yes, yes. I was like, it's right there. I got to spit it out. But what is the learning assessment that you prefer? And do you want to talk just a little bit about those? Is it, I know there's a couple that are kind of buzzy right now, but just from your experience and your preference on those.
Thank you. Happy to. I'm certified in a variety of assessment tools, and it's just that it's a tool. It's not something that I've, step one assigned to someone. It's really the getting to know them. With clients, whether it's, planning for a team event, planning for one-on-one coaching, team coaching, a workshop, it's really that needs assessment that is so critically important in what I do to get to the core and to the heart of the challenge that they're looking to overcome. And depending on what it is they're looking to do, then I decide, does an assessment make sense, or is it something else? If it is an assessment, I'm very happy to share with you the ones that I work with. I work with the HBDI, Herman Brain Dominance Instrument, and it is all about those thinking preferences. So at the core of what we do is our thinking. And then from there, it moves into personality, character, behavior. But at the core, it really is our thinking. Now, when we get into some of those personality and behavior, I'm also certified with a company called Tilt 365. They have a suite of tools that make up a self-assessment, a 360, team assessments. And it's all based on character traits and how we're showing up. I love the 360. I use it with my coaching clients when it's needed. And what's really, I think, interesting about this is the opportunity to not just get feedback from individuals at work, but this is your whole self. So it's people at work, your manager, of course, it's always including your manager, direct reports, peers, colleagues, as well as friends and family. This helps you see how you're showing up to all of these different groups of people. And, am I overusing or underusing certain character traits? So love it. Absolutely love it. And then I'm also certified from a personality assessment perspective with a company called Lumina Learning. And they have a unique approach. I'm certified in, they've got quite a few assessments and areas of focus. And I'm certified in two of those. One is their self-assessment, which they call the Splash, which is very fun and colorful. And then also in their leadership assessment. And then, there's always that DISC that's out there, and I'm certified through Maxwell for DISC. And so, there's a variety, but again, it all depends on the individual and what they're wanting to achieve as to which of these makes sense at which time. Not all clients that I work with do I assign assessment. Some I do. So it depends on the individual.
Yeah, and it's so funny because I'll talk to people and I don't know the name of this particular assessment that is kind of been the buzzword lately. I wish I could think of the name of it right now, but people say, well, what number are you? Or what's your whatever?
Enneagram.
Enneagram, thank you. And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I have not done that, and I have no clue, so I just know that there's so many out there. You named a couple that I'd never heard of. I've done, my social background. I have done some and have worked with people on those. I was certified in some. And so just understanding that they all have different purposes. They all are pulling from different pieces of you. And that it's really in a nutshell about getting to know you and the way that you think and the way that you do things and mapping your processes, your plans, the things that you do around that. And we change too. That's the other thing is, as we grow and as we develop, some of the ways that we think and some of the ways that we do things change along with us. So just because you rank this at the very beginning of your career doesn't mean that 10, 15 years later, you're still ranking the same, right? And so I know my husband and I talk about that all the time. It's just how we've shifted as adults. From when we got married to now, we've just matured, right? And we've learned things along the way, which has changed the way that we approach life in general.
Absolutely.
So,
Well, your goals have changed
mm-hmm.
from being a young adult to an older adult. At any point in our lives, we always get older, right?
Right.
So
no, I don't. Wait a second.
But it does. Our goals change. What we want out of life changes. Mm-hmm. So that changes our priorities. What's important for me now?
Yeah.
Is it striving for that, that C-suite position, or is it striving for having a very nice balance with home and work so that I can spend time with family? Everybody's working through that balance. So it is important to come back and reevaluate for yourself. And yes, the assessments are all about self-awareness and determining which area do I want to, or do I even want to work on anything?
Right. Do I even feel like doing this? Yeah. You know what? Last year, we can really talk about, last year we'll just say the beginning of 2020 up till now, there have been so many people what they originally went into 2020 thinking and what they were planning and their goals and all of that completely shifted once they were at home. They needed to work from home. They spent more time with their children and with their family. And all of a sudden they found their priorities shifting. And it's not because they saw that for themselves. It's that they saw that there was something more important and that there were things in their lives that they didn't realize that they were missing. And so then all of a sudden that started taking the priority over, working and reaching that C-suite or, moving up in the company. Now they realize that is really not that important to me. I am more concerned about my family, or I want to spend more time with them. And so that's why we're seeing the shift in corporate America of people saying, I will no longer work full-time in the office. I want to work from home now. And I want to have a little bit more flexibility in my work-life balance. And it's interesting to see. I personally love the dynamics that are happening right now with businesses, and they don't like it because it is forcing them to really shift a lot. My company is going through the growing pains and the shifting of just how this is affecting them. But it's interesting as a coach and as a process person who is saying, a lot of what we do, we can do it in a different way. We just have to open our eyes and our minds to that.
Yes. And a lot of companies are embracing this. A lot of companies are saying, wow, our teams are doing great working from home.
Right. They're doing better.
We're not going to have this lease any longer.
Exactly.
We're going to get out of the corporate space and everyone is now remote.
Yes.
So many companies are shifting direction. Now, I realize for some of you, you may be saying, well, that's not me. You may find that your organization that you're working with or working for is going to be a bit more flexible than they were before.
Well, now they're really being forced to by people, right? Saying, I'm no longer I'm not even going to look at that position if you don't have this, and this. And so to remain competitive, they're having to open their eyes. But like you said, I think some companies are forward thinking and they're realizing the benefits. They're looking at the benefit side of it versus the negative, and really honing in on that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Lee, will you tell people how they can get in contact with you if they would like to work with you further?
Absolutely. And I'm sure that you'll be providing some of this as well in typed form. You can find me at my website, Lei Comerford, Lei Comerford, COMERFORD.com. And from there, you will see all things about what I'm working on, what I'm doing, and how to connect with me. And I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn as well. I'm listed on LinkedIn as Lee Taylor Comerford, and I certainly look forward to hearing from you. And I would love to schedule a no obligation complimentary phone call for anyone who's interested in diving a little deeper. If you've resonated with anything that you've heard today regarding moving things forward for yourself, maybe you're finding that you're a little stuck. Would love to have a conversation with you to take it deeper and understand what possibilities are out there for you.
Yes, guys, I will have all of Lee's information in the show notes of this episode. Lee, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today. This has been chocked full of all kinds of lessons learned for our audience. Guys, I hope you took them seriously, took some notes, and are ready to get things moving in your life and business. Thank you so much, Lee.
Thank you, Dana. I so enjoyed being with you and look forward to hearing from some of your listeners. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.